Right, okay, so you have got graphics. There are other videos that actually show you how to add new graphics. So there's some videos on the YouTube for that. But I'm going to show you how to modify this one that I've built in. So if we right click on this and say open with, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to add fireworks because it never stays. Okay, so if you click on the little add button, click the ellipse, and then what you'll need to find, it should drop you there in program files. Just go into the Adobe folder, find fireworks, and find the executable, and just say open. I don't know why it sounded it twice, but it won't do that on yours. And then just set it as default. Okay, so that every time you double click that graphic, what it'll do is it'll load up fireworks. So it's loading up fireworks. Right, so I want to replace my brick, and you can do the same with your paddle, you can do the same with your ball, but I'm going to replace the brick, which is 50 pixels wide and 25 pixels high. So I'm just going to create a rectangle. Now, down at this bottom left corner, we can set the dimensions directly. So I can say 50, 25. I can then mess about with the fill. So I'm going to, let's have a bit of wool for the fill. That's what my brick's going to look like. Okay, the graphics are as good as you make them. I'm just going to move that to somewhere sensible. So I'm just going to stick it on this edge. You can change specifically down in that bottom left-hand corner the numbers. Okay, so I've got that right on the left-hand edge. If I save that, which is important, I can then go back to my game code and I can change this. So where I'm defining my brick, where it says frame define, that's how we set the graphics for a sprite. So I'm going to put gm.tx, and that graphic is loaded into this texture. Okay, if I leave it like that, I'll show the effects. That will use the entire texture for each brick. So you'll see what happens when I do that. So when this runs, then what that's going to do, for every single brick, it's going to show that massive graphic, the whole thing. So it's going to look a bit weird on screen, I think. In fact, it's murdering it. All right, so I'm showing the whole graphic, so I mustn't do that, and I've locked it up, I can't even kill it. What we do is we say what texture we want, but then we specify a rectangle. So what bit of the texture, okay? And for the rectangle, we want these numbers that are down here at this bottom bit. So we want the X position, the Y position, the width, and the height. Now, you've got two screens, so it actually makes it easy, but I've got to work with one screen, so I'll just do this. Let's get rid of that. Right, so my rectangle information is 0 to 40. So when I create this rectangle, I'm going to say X is 0, Y is 240, the width is 50, and the height is 25. Okay, so that's saying look at a texture, but only get that bit of it. The scaling stuff I need to just comment out because I don't need to scale it now. Before we had 1 pixel and we stretched it. Okay, you can mess about with the scale once you've got a graphic on, so you can change the size, you can make things like float and blob in and out and stuff like that. So I'm going to do that. These are getting coloured as well on top, so each one will have a different colour, but they'll have like look like they've got an Aaron sweater on. There you go. So I've now got bricks with jumpers on because it's cold. Obviously, it's whatever you want to make the graphics. You should be able to find, and you can do the same with the paddle. And really, that's all it is. So make sure you add whatever graphics you want to your sprites picture. Let me put the Solution Explorer back on. So once you've set that up, it'll always just load it up. You must load it and edit it from within Visual Studio. Otherwise, it doesn't know it's changed because it has to do some messing about with the graphic. So if I want to change that to something else, let's just put a gradient on it. Leave it as that. If I save that and run the game again, it knows that the graphics changed, and it's going to look weird because we're colouring some of the green. So there you go. Get some very strange colours there. And that's it. That's how you add your actual own graphics. So when you do your games, you won't use just blocks. You'll probably want to nick a load of sprite graphics. And if you want to look at some good sprite graphics, on the shared bit, I have compiled Game result. Oh, it's not in there. I need to move this, but I'll put it in the right place. It's in the Applied IT, Game Program Resources, Sprite Samples. There are tons. Okay. But you've only got to search. If you search something sprites, you'll get sprite sheets like this. And these contain all your graphics that you can use. A lot of these are from Metal Slug, which has got some brilliant sprites. So if you want some explosions for your games, some cracking explosion sprites. Animation is dead simple. You just put all your frames together. You know, like when you was doing it in Flash, and you can put animation frames. Or when you was what was that other thing you was using with John? Toon Boom. Yeah. So if you want to like have separate frames and you want to animate between them, easy. It's dead easy to do. It's just one command. Okay. So there's loads of like graphics and vehicles. So if we open that, Microsoft, why do you hate Adobe? It won't even be on the list. Oh no, it is. It's there. Right, I'm going to open that. I'm going to nick that car. So let's just cut that out. It's going to be the world's worst brick. Let's put that. I'm going to stick that on here. I don't want that horrible background. So if I use the magic wand and select the green and then press delete, it should go transparent. What can you see how it's underneath the car still though? So what you can do, if you've got a color selected, you can select all. Oh, select all of that color, you stupid thing. Select all. Why is it doing that? Hang on. Right, let's try again. Magic wand. Select all. He doesn't want to do it. Right, I'll zoom in and do it. Right, delete that. The key bit is transparency. So that checkerboard is the transparent bit. Right, so what I can do now, I've got a rectangle for that. So if I go back to my game, let's get rid of that again. And I use the car rectangle data. So I can say, oh, let's do it for the bat. So if I get the Solution Explorer up. Right, so this time I'm going to use the car in place of the bat. So I'm going to say gm.txgm tx sprite new rectangle. And my numbers are 272, 200, 64, 39. Okay, I'm going to take the scaling off because I'll end up with a car that's 100 times wider. Although I'll leave it, see what it looks like first. Let's save that graphic. Play the game. We should have a really fat car. It's going to be massive. Yeah, there you go. Massive. Too big. So let's just take the scale off and run it. And now we'll have a smaller bat, but it will actually look like that car. There you go. Whee. So if you wanted to mess about with the scale, just to show you how the scale works, you can do it independent, so you don't have to scale the height. So if I just say make it 4 times as wide, I'll end up with a sports car version. If that's what a sports car looks like. And that's it. So as long as you've got a transparent background, it'll get rendered. If I didn't take that green bit off, it would have shown a green block with the car graphic. Yep. Oh, if you want to do that, you've got to do a lot of work. It's not impossible, but you have to basically do a rough polygon outline and do that. But then you have to like test so you wait for the collision to hit the rectangle, and then you say, is it inside my shape? To do that, what you do is you make sure your graphics, the collision engine can either do rectangles or it can do circles. So you just pick the one that's most suitable. So if you're doing that shooter game, you would just say treat my character as a circle. So you get a little bit of leeway, like if you eat your arms or whatever, it's not going to hurt you. Okay, is that all right? So I'll upload that to YouTube. Once you start doing that, it starts becoming a little bit more real. And if anyone wants to mess about with animations, ask me and I'll show you how to do animations. All right. Okay, thanks everyone.